Hello everybody and welcome back to week 7 of the NFL season. Today we're going to be going over the showdown slate between the Denver Broncos and the Cleveland Browns. This is probably the ugliest slate I've seen in possibly years. It also happens to be on Thursday night, which is going to probably make it even uglier. There's so many injuries that are happening on both sides of the ball right now. So whatever I say in this video, know that with injury news, you have to make adjustments. Luckily, I already got the Case Keenum starting news, so we'll be able to use that. So first off, I'm gonna just go over my captain plays and build some lineups around all of them, and then I'll go into some of the value plays, and then of course the punt plays that every showdown slate you often need. So like those $200 plays or those like sub $1,000 plays. We just saw it win the million on Monday night with Tommy Sweeney, backup tight end for the Bills in the winning lineup. So you just have to, anyone that sees the field at like $200, you always have to consider. So I'll go through some of those. I don't think there's a single play. Like if this game was on the main slate, like on Sunday, I would just cancel this game out and not play a single player from it. But where I'm forced to pick some of my favorite captains. So this is what I narrowed it down to. I have Courtland Sutton, Tim Patrick, mainly more of the Broncos because the Browns are just so beat up. Like at this moment, Odell I might actually remove him from a captain consideration. He has like a shoulder issue he's dealing with, and it's like a grade 3 sprain. Like it could just get re-injured during the game, and I've been trying to avoid Odell. So I'm going to take him out of the captain, but for now, I'll have maybe a little bit of him in the flex. Let me just review. So between Teddy Bridgewater and Case Keenum, I just slightly prefer Case Keenum only because he's under 10,000. And this is one of those slates where you really only want to try to play one quarterback, just because the times that you see like 2 quarterbacks in a lineup are when they're shootouts, and I do not see this game being a shootout at all. So if I had to pick one, I'd pick Case Keenum. But, in the lineups, I have like Courtland Sutton in the captain, or Tim Patrick. I'll use Teddy Bridgewater there. And then the running backs, the way I'm doing running backs is I'm going to make it a rule to where I can only have a max of 1 of Melvin Gordon and Javonte Williams, and then a max of 1 of Felton and Dearness Johnson. So they eat into each other's productions too much for them both to be in the winning lineup. So it's possible I have a lineup with like Melvin Gordon and Dearness Johnson, but I'll never have like a Melvin Gordon and Javonte Williams or a Dearness Johnson and Felton in the same. And then John Kelly, because he's 200 and he should be rotating in with these Cleveland backs, I'm okay with having like Felton and Kelly in the same lineup, or Johnson and Kelly, because Kelly literally he could have like 3 or 4 points and find his way into a winning lineup at $200. So I won't limit that. Going to receiver, so if I had to pick my favorite running back, it's going to be Javonte Williams. I think he is the best running back, the most talented running back on this slate. Melvin Gordon has been kind of banged up, and if he goes down at all, Williams. If you told me Williams was going to be like the main running back and Gordon was out this game, I'd probably play 100% Javonte Williams in the captain. I think he's an incredible talent. Every week he's breaking off these explosive runs. Cleveland is so banged up. He's at a reasonable price tag here. So he's my favorite running back play. But because the Browns' backs are so cheap, you have to consider them because they'll still be on the field a ton. So I can see myself easily having 2 running backs in my lineup. Going into receivers, so we got Courtland Sutton at the top. He's definitely pricey. That's why I'm going to prefer Tim Patrick here. Tim Patrick still has quite a big target share. Where is it? So he has like 6 targets, 9 targets, 6. Like he's getting 6 targets plus a game. He scored last week. He's a better red zone target. Him and Fant are more of the red zone targets than Sutton. But Sutton is incredible. He's such a good player, and so I still like him. But Odell is super cheap. Like he's cheaper than Tim Patrick, and he should be like the only, with Nick Chubb out, with Kareem Hunt out. I don't know. I could see him, if he actually plays the whole game, like having a decent game. but with this injury, like, he could just go down after the first quarter or like the first drive. So I'll sprinkle him in some lineups and wait on some injury news with him. If he's out, that makes me like Donovan Peoples-Jones a lot, as he'll be the wide receiver 1 at only 6'4". So then you have Rashard Higgins, who's, you know, he'll compete with the kickers to see, like, because the kickers and defenses are all around his price tag, so he'll have to outscore the kickers and defenses to be in the winning lineup. Kendall Hinton at only 2,000 is a pretty good option. He's the wide receiver 3 for the Broncos. Again, you just need, like, I don't know, like a couple long catches or him to fall into the end zone, because at that price, you're looking for him to outscore the kickers and the defenses. I think Anthony Schwartz sees a few more targets, especially with Hunt being out. So, you know, at 1-2, I'll again, these are players you just sprinkle in, like Schwartz and David Moore. David Moore is like the wide receiver 4 for the Broncos, but he sees the field, he sees some snaps. All you need is for him to get lucky in the end zone, and he'll be super low owned. Like David Moore and, like, what's the other $200 play? And Harrison Bryant are your punt plays this week. So I would definitely sprinkle. They're the best $200 plays. It feels super ugly and terrible to click on their names, but whenever these players are seeing the field and get looks, you have to consider them. I like Harrison Bryant better as a $200 play, especially with the Browns being so banged up. It's going to give extra opportunities for these secondary and tertiary players down the Browns depth chart. I'll make a rule. So we have Njoku, Hooper, and Bryant. I'm going to definitely make a rule where only one of Njoku and Hooper can be in the same lineup. They eat into each other's productions directly, and they're at a high enough price tag where if one goes off, it's drastically hurting the other one. But I will not limit, so I'll leave it to where, like, Njoku and Harrison Bryant can be in the same lineup, because again, these $200 plays need like 3 points to pay it off and be in a winning lineup. And then going into defenses and kickers, usually I have more kickers than the defenses, but I'm just going to make it a point to play a bunch of both. Like, I want to have like a ton of the defenses and a ton of the kickers, but you always make it a rule to where you can only have one of these players. It's just hard for a kicker and a defense, or 2 kickers or 2 defenses, to end up in the same lineup. So our rule is that you have a max of one of these plays. So I'll most likely have one of these in every lineup I make. This could just be such an ugly game. All right, now that we kind of went over some plays, we'll get into some lineup building here. So we have Cortland Sutton at the top. So if we play Cortland Sutton and the captain, you're going to want to have Teddy Bridgewater in there. So this will probably be a Broncos, like, more of a passing attack. Therefore, I'm going to want to get one of these Browns running backs probably in the lineup. I might get 2 running backs. They're all reasonably priced here. So I think I'm going to go with Dearness Johnson. He's cheaper than Felton, and he should be like the first and second down back. Felton will be more of the third down back. So we'll get Johnson in there. I still love Javonte Williams. Javonte Williams is probably my favorite at his price tag. My favorite play of the slate. So I'll probably have most of him in the captain and still have a ton of him in the flex. So that leaves us, $6,200 left. Let's get a kicker in here for this lineup. We'll get the Browns kicker. And then that leaves us $8,400. And that's perfect to get, I don't know, you could get Tim Patrick in here. So you have Bridgewater throwing to Sutton and Patrick. And then you have Javonte Williams as well. And then on the Browns side, you have the kicker and the primary Browns running back. So this is a nice lineup. It only leaves $800. So instead of Tim Patrick, this is when you go like maybe, let's see here. Like, you could leave a ton of salary on the table and go Kendall Hinton. Swapping from Tim Patrick to Hinton shows you just how easy it is to leave salary on the table and still have a lineup that can compete to win the million or win first place. Because all that needs to happen like when you swap from Tim Patrick to Hinton, is Hinton just has a better game than Patrick. That is all that needs to happen, and you leave $6,400 on the table in this lineup. Is this probably like a very, very unique lineup in the fact that it leaves $6,400, and instead of duplicating your lineup with hundreds of other people, you're gonna either have a unique lineup all by yourself, or you're just splitting with a very few people. And if that top 1% outcome that you play for on these slates happens, you don't want to split that with hundreds of people. You want to take that down solo. So this is going to be a great slate to leave a ton of salary on the table because of how cheap the options already are. You have RB1s and RB2s in the 4 or 5K range, in the 7K range. Like, you have quarterbacks under 10K. This is honestly, like, sometimes it's the $200 plays where you want to use a ton of your salary, like in the $49,000 to $50,000 range, and then you cap it off with a $200 player, like we saw when you had Derrick Henry in the captain and Thomas Sweeney was the $200 player. The reason why that lineup won is because they were able to pack in so many studs, and they only had like $300 left over, and so they had to pick that $200 play. But on this slate, it's so easy to build any lineup you want and still leave a ton of salary on the table. So this might be a better slate to avoid like the David Moores and go with just playing some of the better plays, but just leaving more salary on the table. Let's go into a Tim Patrick. So it's going to be similar. So you have Tim Patrick. You're going to put Teddy Bridgewater in there. Then let's get my favorite play, Javonte Williams. You could put Felton in there instead of Dearness Johnson, whichever one. Then you can bring that back on the other side. I don't know, you could get Odell Beckham or Donovan Peoples-Jones, one of those two. And then, like, I don't know, I think Odell is pretty banged up. So we'll go Donovan Peoples-Jones. And that leaves you $9,200 left. And that allows you to get, like, a Noah Fant to stack with Bridgewater and Patrick. Again, you can go to Kendall Hinton and leave $7,200. Like, I'm going to be leaving so much salary on the table with this slate. It's too easy to build these lineups. This is a slate, don't even use over 49,000 on your teams. Like, use under 49,000 on every single team you make. And if you do use over 49,000, use like a David Moore or Harrison Bryant in that lineup to get unique that way. So that's kind of a Tim Patrick build. They're so easy to make always. So Melvin Gordon, if you're going Melvin Gordon, that means you're saying Gordon maybe has a really good day on the ground. So Teddy Bridgewater is not in the optimal, and Case Keenum is. And then you probably, let's get a pass catcher for Keenum. So you can go, I don't know, we'll just throw Odell in this one for an example. And then you could get one of Keenum's tight ends. I think Njoku's the most talented tight end there, so we'll go Njoku. And then we'll get another Broncos player. So like if Gordon is playing and getting all these rushing touchdowns, maybe they're icing it off with the Broncos kicker playing ahead. And then that leaves you $13,100 left. Man, you can finish it off with Felton, and that gives you Keenum to Odell and Njoku and their third down back playing from behind, and then you have Melvin Gordon and McManus on the Broncos side. Look at that, $8,100 on the table. And then you could just instead of Melvin Gordon, you just throw Javonte Williams in the captain, and you could have the exact same lineup, and just swap, and then just make swaps from here, like swap out Odell for Donovan Peoples-Jones and Njoku for Hooper. Like, you can just make variations that way. Swap McManus for the Broncos defense, the Browns defense. You just kind of swap out some of these plays in this similar price range. So yeah, like this slate, more than any other slate, it's super ugly. Like, I'll be fine using up to 10,000 probably, like making lineups that use like only 40,000 of the salary. Now I'm going to show you what it, like, if you do use these pump plays like John Kelly or Harrison Bryant, like what that lineup you would want to build. So that's a lineup where you're going to be using, let's see, like one of the more expensive captains. So let's throw like Cortland Sutton in there. Maybe you try to fit both quarterbacks in this lineup. This is a lineup more if you think it can somehow turn into a shootout. Then you can fit, let's get like one of these Broncos running backs, so Javonte Williams. And that leaves you $3,800 a player. So in this lineup, you have Cortland Sutton, Teddy Bridgewater, Keenum, Javonte Williams, and Odell. So this is kind of a lineup telling the story that this could turn into a shootout, but there's not many field goals being scored. Defenses aren't scoring touchdowns. It's just back and forth between Bridgewater and Keenum. Bridgewater through Sutton and Javonte Williams, and then Case Keenum through Odell. And look, you only have $800 left. What players are $800? You have John Kelly, David Moore, and Harrison Bryant. So in this type of lineup, you just rotate through those three $200 players, and then you just swap out like Javonte Williams for Melvin Gordon, and you just get different variations that way. So that's how, like the other night when we saw the Derrick Henry captain lineup win with Thomas Sweeney, it's because you had like Derrick Henry, you had Josh Allen, you had Diggs, you had Beasley, they stacked in all the studs, and that only left them, they had to pay down into this $200 range in order for that lineup to work. So this is the only type of lineup I'm going to make where I spend over $49,000, and I'm going to get different by playing a $200 super low owned play that no one else is playing. Like Harrison Bryant, David Moore, and John Kelly will all be like definitely under 10%, but most likely under 5% even. So that just kind of gives you hopefully like a strategic example of like how to play these slates. Again, my favorite captain is Javonte Williams. But I think that about wraps it up for this slate. Just ending thoughts. Don't use a lot of salary on this slate. Just leave a ton of salary. And if you do use a lot, use one of those three $200 plays that I mentioned. But I hope you enjoyed this video. Please leave a like if you enjoyed it. It helps out the channel a ton. Please subscribe and comment your favorite captain. And I will see you tomorrow for the top 10 plays under 5%. Thank you for watching. I'll see you tomorrow.